When you look up on a clear night and you see the myriad of stars that twinkle in the skies, understand that this is not a complex and expensive backdrop to Earth. The fact that there are millions upon millions of stars in an infinity of space should lead you to a likely conclusion. Since Earth itself orbits around a very tiny and insignificant star in terms of size and intensity, that there is life and life beyond life throughout the universe. It is often the case as we work on the path to opening to the spirit that we begin to appear to denigrate the physical reality, the physical universe, speaking always of the wider reality of leaving the clutches of the material universe. But we must point out to you that even in the case of the material universe alone, we are dealing with infinity. Infinity. Now, that's really a key for understanding what is about to be spoken of tonight, is that recognition, however faint and however inaccurate, of the concept of infinity. The topic extraterrestrials is one that is liable to lead both to sensationalism and to a sort of celestial science fiction. And it is not that. Of course there are extraterrestrials. Everyone who doesn't live on Earth is an extraterrestrial, and that takes in the vast, vast, vast majority of the life in this universe. This universe teems with life. The universe lives itself. And the adornments in the sky, as we say, are not there simply as adornments. There is a great society of being on the physical plane. Yes, all life is fully connected to a wider reality that exists beyond the limitations of physicality. Because again, we're dealing with infinity and eternity. Leaves room for everything. The reality that you inhabit is vast, and vaster than that. It is not random. It is all of a pattern, all interrelated. We have said again and again that you are one, and that you are growing into an awareness of your oneness, the oneness that you share with your brothers and with your sisters, with all humanity, with all life on earth, and on outward. Outward. Oneness. There is, beyond all else, one and one alone. That is you, and you, and you, and all of us. The lives that you have led and are leading, you all lead and have led. Ultimately, in this intricate spider web of connected realities, ultimately, at the center of that web is the one. Then there are levels and levels and levels and levels and levels of interconnectedness. And so, in this physical universe, you are now focused upon a series of Earth lives during the time of the duality. Now, that is the twinkling of an eye. You are dealing with a series of lives on one planet within well, at this point, within a 2,000 to 3,000 year period of time. You will continue to have wide awareness and a number of lives as the age ends and begins. And these will be lives not of the duality, but of the wholeness. Still earth lives. Earth lives. With certain earth-oriented tasks to deal with a mythos all of its own, commencing not when you think, commencing not even with Atlantis, as it existed on Venus, commencing far beyond that, beyond even the beginnings in this solar system on Mars. Experiment, growth, flowering, expansion, collapse, destruction, renewal. The story of humanity in its journeys is the story of the human being in his and her journeys. Now we come to the end of that story. The end of a significant chapter, the beginning of a new development. Now the adventures of humanity whole, of the triune human being. This is a major graduation, a major evolutionary leap. The awakening that is taking place within these few brief years comprises the halting, stumbling beginning of a great new saga in the eternal travel of the soul. Because this is such a vital time in the life of a major race, it is attracting attention. Close attention. Helpful attention. Now, in this eternal evolution of spirit, of which you are now investigating human aspect, A through B, there are many, 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 many other aspects beyond the human, who have and are growing not in a hierarchical sense, but having reached the point of oneness and understanding of oneness, are now exploring a wide variety of forms and contents on the physical plane, on the eternal journey to God. All forms that are possible are explored. All stories that are possible are lived. That's why the universe is so big. There's a very great deal to be accomplished. Beyond this human life are many building upon this life, building upon these experiences. Again, not a hierarchy. There are many planets and many races who are also wandering in the darkness that humanity has wandered in over its brief history on this planet, not experiencing the same lessons that you are and have, because there's no point in duplicating effort. But based upon a different history, based upon a different central flaw, based upon a different universal constant, based upon often a different chemistry, a different conformation of energies. Many races exploring matters that would be utterly inexplicable to you. So foreign in form, so remote in content, So we have a vast choice, reaching from way over there and beyond and going way over there and beyond, of eternal exploration. Now, just as the analogy that we have given regarding your many lives as the tree of many branches and the cluster of lives focused on specific issues, expand that image through all of the races of the universe, and recognize that there is a similar clustering effect. In the cluster that includes the human race are other races, some very closely related in form and in content, and some very distantly related, whose attention has been drawn to what is taking place here and now. The preparation time, in terms of years, has not been long. The first stirrings of that preparation took place in the 19th century with the development of a new concept based upon the consequences of the Industrial Revolution, which was a leap of consciousness leading to this stage. Out of that came a new look at possibilities within the universe. Science fiction. Jules Verne. Others, later H.G. Wells. Others and others and others. Now, where did this concept come from? This expansion of awareness. It came out of need. It came because events cast their shadow before them. And because there was a dim, half-aware awakening on the part of a few spirits whose task it was to begin to expand the limits and the range of human possibilities. To expand the range of what was acceptable to be thought about. That beginning led onward and onward into more revelations of consciousness that were inspired by intentional leakage of what was coming in the future to a few, and then a wider few as that consciousness spread, and the awareness spread, and with greater and greater intensity as the time frame narrowed. There have been in your current myths inspired films, books, ideas that are opening to the future, preparing you to take your place among the conscious community of the universe. Preparing you. And yet not preparing you in so clear and forthright a way as to alert all humanity to the truth that there are so many races looking in and welcoming you. Because this, as in all things human, is a part of the development that is fueled by faith. And that there are those who have chosen to be a part of the awareness that is growing. And a part of that awareness is the preparation for the interconnection of consciousness throughout the universe. So that is the background. You have been led by the hand to a place in time when you are ready to wake up. Contact from extraterrestrials has been taking place over the history of Earth. Always then with care that the awareness not be widely communicated. But let us assure you that those early races who received visitations and later gave artistic renderings of those who came to visit were not so crude in their ability to duplicate reality as it would appear if you do not understand that they were creating the image of those who were not like them. Humanoid, for the most part, but not human. This is a community. And though you have been sleeping, you have been cared for, helped, at various important times in the racial development on Earth. You are not the foundling child that is sent off on all on its lonesome. The nursery was cared for during the long time of preparation. Well, now there are among the human race those who are ready to leave the nursery. But as we have explained many times before, it is a dangerous time when the old dies and the new is born. There is no question as to the outcome, but the passage itself can be bumpy. As it is in your own individual lives, so it is in the collective life of humanity. But the aid is there. Now, you're receiving aid as individuals, you're receiving aid as a race. Some of it you're receiving from what we have called the wider reality, from spirit source. But much of it from this physical reality. From places that if you could fly far enough and fast enough, you could reach without leaving this dimension. Some of that contact is in the flesh, some in the spirit. The projection of consciousness is ultimately the final conqueror of spaces and distances in the universe. There are also what we'll call mechanical contrivances to go from system to system, from planet to planet, that operate faster than light, but that is only a step on toward the ability to project full consciousness. All of you who are on the path, all of you without exception who are on the path willingly, and even before that willingness became conscious, all of you without exception have been joined by what you would regard as extraterrestrials. You have been helped on the dream level because it's the easiest access to your consciousness. And of course the projection is the projection of consciousness to consciousness. Some of you have moved far enough along in your opening to spirit and to understanding that you have begun to make conscious connection with other life forms on the spirit level. Others there are who have been observed, and had contact with other life forms who are visiting in the flesh. That is also not science fiction. Oh, yes, there are those lost in their own inability to focus on one reality, who have fantasized and envisioned such contact. But the hard core of experiences are true and factual. But, of course, for the aforementioned reason, they will be, and indeed must be, treated by the wider society as fancy and as foolishness. And let us say this also, that there is awareness in certain levels of government internationally, that there is and has been contact from other life forms and other parts of the universe. Because here, when we're dealing on a level that is not spirit level, but that is flesh and blood level, here all of the uncertainty principle that is a part of the physical reality operates. And so there are accidents. And there are sightings and observations and contacts and so forth that work their way into this mix of reality, providing the uncertainty principle, providing the element of chance that makes the Earth reality so interesting to live in. Life throughout the universe takes many, many forms. No form that is impossible in the physical reality, but all forms that are possible. Forms that are crystalline. Forms that are invisible by the spectrum that you are able to see. Forms that are gigantic, that would be giants to your vision. Forms that are minuscule, that would be in your standard of size cellular, containing whole reality systems, whole worlds, all on the physical level. Many there are who are in contact now, and Paul is one, on the spirit level. Now, we tell this to illustrate that shortly after the information on the Mary energy was released to Paul, another meditation brought him, to his great surprise, a visit in an unexpected place in his meditation of 3 forms that he had not certainly created out of his visualization. And these 3 forms identified themselves as the triumvirate, and that they had joined Paul because, as they said, you have chosen to serve God and we have chosen to serve you. And in the process of channeling and of meditation, the energy of those 3 beings enters Paul with aspects of wisdom, of divine discernment, and of prophecy, opening, not adding really, but opening those energies within him, those capabilities, fueling this process that we are engaged in. At a level of your spiritual development, you may be consciously or unconsciously connected with another aspect of self on another planet, near another star, in another part of the universe. Always for purpose, always because there is an interrelationship of energies, a mutual need to be joined together. This is the beginning of what will end in that not-to-be-imagined distant future, where you are connected with the Godhead, and all are truly one. And this connection that is opened here, and the connection with other selves on this in this series of incarnations is opened there. Bit by bit, you are opened into a wider and wider awareness until finally, as we say, that recognition is complete, and you are truly one with the One. But that's not for a while yet. The purpose of these connections with extraterrestrials is to aid in the process of birth. They are midwives from outer space. Those who enter in the spirit, in meditation, those who are projections. Interact with your own higher self to strengthen you in specific ways, to expand your consciousness, and to build you up where you need building up. The time is not far distant when these connections with extraterrestrials will become much more prevalent and finally universally recognized. We have devoted so much of our time of late in talking about and helping you prepare for the release of the Christ energy as it begins its long process of release next year. We have been dealing in terms specifically Christian, because that is the story that we are here to illumine. But as we open our eyes farther, we see that nomenclature and that mythos and that story is but one aspect of a story interconnected but ever so much larger in its scope and in its understanding. So we say this now not to negate the importance of the Christian exploration and the fulfillment of the Christian promise that is being enacted here on earth, but to remind you that this is not a Sunday school story, that as mystical and spiritual as this is, so is it also scientific. You see, don't categorize and don't pigeonhole it. All is one, and you do yourself no favors as your understanding opens to think of this process as purely spiritual and then limit your notion of what spirituality is. This is non-denominational and universal. It is an expansion inward as it is an expansion outward. As your understanding and exploration of inner space grows, so does your understanding and exploration of outer space. You are on the launching pad in that direction also. The expansion outward into the community of worlds. Contact is to become more overt, not next year. We believe in 1987, possibly as late as 1988, and these are such tumultuous times that to be able to focus exactly on a time would be to negate the free will of all who are involved in this graduation exercise. But in 1987 or possibly 1988, there will be overt and well-recognized contact on a physical level with extraterrestrials. It will come at a time of intense Earth crisis on the political level. It will come at the time that the Earth comes closest to creating its own disaster. Those of you who are preparing yourself, who are joining this pilgrimage, are having your awareness and understanding expanded by this process. So you see that there are many more things on heaven and earth than are dreamt of in the philosophy that is passing. And that is for purpose, because you will need to be prepared to accept, understand this contact is in itself going to trigger chaos. For those whose worldview does not admit of the existence of extraterrestrials, that is, beings not bound by the myth of Earth in all of its versions and ramifications, are going to be threatened to the point of insanity by this contact, which will be identified at various levels as satanic, as invasion. Understand this and do not sneer. The savage is always frightened by his exposure to what is coming. So have you been in your experience, and those who will be panicked by this forceful expansion of awareness, the introduction into their philosophy of that which cannot be accepted, will feel themselves to be losing their minds unless they can define and explain the visitation in terms consistent with their own belief structure. The polarization that you are seeing now comes into its starkest and most extreme position at that time as the 80s end and the 90s begin. Those who accept and hold out the hand of friendship in response to the visitation are going to be declared traitors, Satanists, collaborators with the devil, and not by Christians alone. It is this contact that is finally going to provoke what you have all seen bubbling into the danger area, the final struggle among the religions. Call it Armageddon. You didn't come here for a summer vacation, you know. And you are not at jeopardy. You can never be at jeopardy. Because you know who you are. And more so as this process snowballs and the months move along over the next year or so, your consciousness is going to have expanded so far. Your understanding of what is taking place, your recognition of your own part, that you can know no fear. It is why so many have been devoting so much time and so much pain and so much care to the colossal effort of relaxation that relieves you of your fears. The dark side of reality, dominated by fear, is going into a frenzy. Those who are being reborn will need all of the courage and all of the faith that is the byproduct and the fuel of this journey to contain, illumine, and release that final frenzy of fear. Understand, it's a picture within a picture within a picture within a picture. What is taking place within you is enabling you to deal with what is taking place for humanity and the earth. That frenzy of fear that you feel before you reach through into the light and banish the fear is what humanity is going through. You are reaching your crises and going through your crises first because you are here to be guides, to begin that long procession into the future and into the triunity of the human being. So all about you will be losing their heads and you'll be keeping yours. and you will be beginning the new reality. How will these visitations come, and what will they look like? Well, we think it's very likely that the physical appearance of the first visitors are going to be vaguely reptilian. And the purpose for that is to trigger the fear of the serpent.
Nice and tidy.
Understand that the memory of the serpent that is a part of the Bible, but also part of the racial memory, is that knowledge that once was yours in Atlantis of the community of the universe before the fall. And it was in a way that is too demanding to explain now. It was that awareness in the time of Atlantis that ultimately was blamed for the acts of overweening pride that caused the collapse of that reality, and the blame of the alien, and the identification of the alien as the serpent. So, very likely to be of a race of reptiles. It sounds so silly, but just as the spirit has chosen a particular kind of animal form on this earth, so is that throughout the universe, where there are animal forms. Others, as we indicated, are based on other chemistries, and the beings from Tyrannus who are visitors within Paul are in fact mineral in their construction and immovable. They do not traverse. They are creatures of spirit who are encased in material form, but who travel freely through what you would call mind, but through the agency of the spirit. Now we're going to pause for a break now, and when we return, we will open to, if any of you have any questions regarding this matter, we'll explore that.
Plautus, could you tell me who else was able to see the flying disc in the sky in the summer of '79, and how I might be able to locate whoever saw it?
We believe that this was seen by a number of people. Was this in a twilight state of the day?
No, it was the noon time.
Identify the location.
Over a lake in the Lake Minnetonka area.
We do not see other confirmation. This was only briefly on the physical plane. This was a movement, a sort of dimensional warp. But we do not see other sources. Not that it did not occur, but we don't see other sources.
Plautus, I was told in meditation some time ago when I was focusing my interest fairly heavily.
Sorry.
I was told that I am from the star Arcturus. Now, what exactly does that mean?
Well, it has to do with what we were saying earlier about the connections that are being made. simply expand the notion of the pronoun I. Yes, that joining is still in progress. It is a joining of awareness, and that star system that you call Arcturus is the source of a alternate being, extraterrestrial. Then that is connected with your own Earth identity, and it is a step. It was a trigger mechanism at the time, and it is a step toward your own wholeness. This is a being who is a knight of the light. This is one who is you might liken to the knight of the Grail, one who is a questor. One who is a searcher for emerging consciousness, who bears with him a lance of light that is like the spark in an engine that starts the engine. Way to call it. Okay. This is one who is with you in incorporeal form, who is attached to the crown chakra, one that is connecting with you to open the center of Christ consciousness, that is, in a sense, an antidote to the ego. The full effect of this connection is not yet manifest. It will be so by late spring or early summer of the coming year. It will be felt, be a release from the straitjacket of ego that is your final barrier, that is denying for you the evidence of your own inner vision, that is a block upon the crown. It is, in a sense, a last-ditch defense that you have opened up here and here and here and here and here and here, but are clinging tightly, grasping the lid that will unite all of these various openings into opening the true power of your healing energy. The healing is as yet, we don't want to say this inaccurately, it is powerful healing, but it is as yet superficial. It is, you are using the healing, you are not the healing yourself. When this process is complete, you are the healing. It is not a tool, but a state of being. So now you are a technician, and then you will be an artist. We're coming as close as we can to describing this final barrier. But we would say in your meditation, focus upon that image of the connection with the Arcturan, and upon the crown chakra, and in allowing it to open, bypassing the ego defenses. Yes?
Thank you. Plautus, a message came to me in a meditation a few months back in regarding the unique quality of the human evolutionary experience, and what I got from it was that it was something to do with that. What makes this experience unique is the aspect of choosing love in life, and that we are the first race of beings to have done that. Is that true, or did I?
No, it's not true per se. It is a truth that is within the human experience, but not beyond the human experience. As we say, this is a time of coming of age. Those races of beings that have achieved and are in the act of achieving full consciousness, and who are, as we've indicated, conscious members of the community of the universe, have all dealt with this. Love is the universal. Love is the energy of the universe. Love is the choice to be made. The uniqueness is in this time in human history. That this is the first time that the choice has been truly in evidence. That the choice for love ends the duality. That the opening ends the darkness. So this, the duality that has been the human story in this period of time, now ends by bringing the light into the darkness. That is unique, but it's unique in human history.
Plautus, I have a question. The fixed star that I connect with, which is Aldebaran, is at 9 Gemini, and my Venus is at 12 Gemini, and Halley's Comet is at that point tomorrow and the next day or two. Can I expect any changes connected with Malaya because of this stationary transit of Halley's Comet?
Yes, the connection is not coincidental.
I'm sure.
It is the image that we are seeing is that Malaya is using this as a vehicle of transport in terms of a direct transfer of energy. And so what is a universal event becomes a personal event for you, in that the effect of the comet upon you will be unlike the effect of the comet upon all those myriad others that it will affect. It is a slide of light.
Could you elaborate just a little? So far it hasn't been a picnic today. A little more on the higher aspects of it.
Well, you understand that no, it has not been a picnic because of the fundamental nature of the energy change. You know, you are one who has had to be led along bit by bit, because the only way that you could move along is by being assured that the next step was the last one.
Yes.
And of course there is no last step.
Now they tell me. Yes.
Well, now it's safe to tell you.
Yes, right.
Because the inertia has taken over, and you're not going to step off
right.
this. And so this connection, the Malaya connection now, is enhanced through the effect of the comet. Now, this is a major energy change, and you've been going through a series of energy changes. This, yes, it's related to what you have been teaching, but it is also beyond that. For you, it is for you. See. And we will not say to you that when this is complete, you know, in a week or what have you, that suddenly all will be a bed of roses, and that you will ascend unto the highest, leaving the physical life behind. Not so. What you are doing is learning about yourself and how to deal with the raw material, and to create throughout your life a creation of beauty and a creation of power through the raw materials that you were given. the effort is not over. It is simply a watershed. It is a transmutation. But it is not the end of dealing with your nature. It is the end of being the victim of your nature. And the rest of the lessons are with the mastery of your nature and the development of it into an instrument of the highest. And so this upset that you feel now is major to you because it seems like a step backward. And it gives you that feeling of failure and that feeling of what's the use, and the desperation and the awful vision that you're not getting anywhere. Well, of course, none of that is true. And as this experience passes, you discover it to be a confirmation of your path and your goal, rather than a denial. Yes.
Marilyn Rossner has stated that she is undergoing transmutation and fertilization. Could you explain what that is?
Well, of course, the vocabulary changes from channel to channel based upon the computer that is being used. What were the words again?
Transmutation and fertilization.
I think it was cross-fertilization.
Cross-fertilization.
Well, that is very much related to what we have been saying about the interconnection of being, of the widening of the eye to take in more of the details of the wider self, the self that is not this little eye, but this eye and this eye and this eye and this eye and this eye, and a wider and wider expansion of the collection of eyes until the ultimate completion. And it is cross-fertilization because each plants a seed in the other. It's never a one-way trip. It's not that you are only receiving and not giving. You are giving and receiving. And the changes that occur in the people of Earth create change, ultimately, ripples of change in the very fabric of the universe itself and all of its denizens. Life is interconnected, and energy cannot change over here without ultimately changing over here. And so there is that in the transmutation of being comes the out of that comes the cross-fertilization of the larger being.
Mm-hmm. She says her bone structure and her face is changing also.
Yes, there are physical changes going on, and many of you, the physical changes are having to do, as we indicated before, with the reconnection with the Atlantean self, as this age of the flowering of the Atlantean promise takes place. The physical changes are the evidence and the result of the rebalancing that is taking place. You are becoming more and more your ideal self, as well as more and more your universal self.
I thought I was able to see a space being face instead of hers. Can you comment on that at all? Or?
Yes, this is evidence of the connection, the transgalactic connection that is taking place. Some, all are learning the talents and the abilities of the spiritual self. And all of the Mary training and the Marielle training and all of this and that, by all the different names, is teaching you to develop the abilities of the subtle senses. Now, these are not identical from being to being. While all of you have these psychic spiritual abilities that you are tapping into, in some they will manifest in one way, in others they will manifest another way. Well, in one who has transformed a great deal and transcended much, this evidence is more visible and more readily accessible. And in some you will see that overlay of identity in a visible form, and it's there to teach you, as well as being a manifestation of the ability of the channel. It is there to shore up your faith and to trigger your imagination and to open your comprehension.
Plautus, I have a memory of visiting a reptilian planet, and I'm wondering if you could comment.
Well, as we say, the most accessible place for contact, particularly in the time of pre-consciousness, is in the dream state. In the dream state, you are in contact, and often it is coded upon awakening, but you are in contact with a wide variety of sources, of influences, of intelligences and consciousnesses that are in contact with you. And so that is the initial source. And so because within yourself you know all, because at the level of the higher self you have full awareness of life in all of its permutations, because you are connected at this point in the sub and unconsciousness with the rest of the universe, there are memories and awarenesses of other life forms that are simply a part of your subcellular memory.
So it doesn't mean that I was a being on that planet, or does it? Or in my
Well, here we get into the difficulty of was, is, and shall be, into the difficulty of time, into the difficulty of the apparent serialization of reality. And it is treacherous ground that we have trod before with mixed results. It is difficult to use this three-dimensional language to expand beyond those dimensions in a meaningful way. The broadest and most misleading answer is yes. It is yes, but, yes, and. That consciousness is available to you. That life has been lived, will be lived, is lived. It is, again, the web of creation. You are on one end of that web of all. You see what surrounds you on that web, that end of the web. And betimes there is a pull at a thread at the other end of the web. And the vibration travels down and touches your end. And you get a peek at something that is not in the immediate, your immediate awareness, but that opens your eyes a bit. Not because it's intended to trigger anything immediate, but because in the long run, it widens your understanding, even if you don't know what it means. The inexplicable is often the greatest expander of consciousness.
Plautus, I'm getting the second hand, but apparently Marilyn Rosner also talked about actual fertilization of the womb, virgin-type births, and some talk of other people. I'm thinking of one that comes here a great deal, who felt her baby to be one sex and was certain of it, and suddenly her baby didn't move for several weeks, and she was afraid it had almost died, and simultaneously she had a boy's name for the child, and dropped all. And this seemed to sort of dovetail with the idea.
Well, it's a different thing.
Okay.
No, that was true. There was a change of mind, a change caused by outer changes and choices in her world that redetermined the sex of the child. Has nothing to do with any sort of a cross-fertilization on that level. There is none on that level. We have no Rosemary's Baby of any description taking place. That is not the intent. That is not the need. That is these physical forms that you take here are appropriate for here, and they are growing out of their own basic nature and structure and potential for growth. And those forms that are a part of other realities and that are a part of other times and places in space are sufficient and appropriate for their own needs. Such a base level as sexual physical cross-fertilization is not necessary, and in fact is not a part of this expanding spiritual structure.
Plautus, I agree with you, but I have also heard Marilyn Rosner's view expressed by Andrei Puharich, and I'm with you, but I'd like to know where these people are.
Well, you see through a glass darkly here. And this is not to say that Plautus knows all and everyone else is seeing through a glass darkly. Plautus, that aspect of Paul's being that you are here spoken of as Plautus, is not the pure voice of God, is not the pure voice of the wider reality. It is that voice, that awareness, that completeness filtered through and incarnate on the path to understanding. So is it with all such channels of information. It is not meet and it is not appropriate for the pure, untrammeled, unfiltered vision of all that is to be a part of this land and life of mystery and faith. And so what you are given are truths, but truths that are filtered through various kinds of understanding. Now, it does not happen to be a part of the Paul Plautus consciousness that blocks out that kind of information, but perhaps some others. There is no need for this physical interchange of energies that is being described except in the psyche of those who find that interpretation. And those who, hearing that interpretation, say, oh, that makes special sense to me. It does not, in the final analysis, matter if it is believed in that way or in this way, because its true way is its true way. What is important in this fragmented reality is that you get the input that you, as an individual, need to guide you up the next rung and the next rung and the next rung. And at certain points of your development, you need certain kinds of evidence. Now, some of that evidence that you receive is, to use an expression, God's truth. The other part of that evidence you receive is tailored for your human understanding and for the level of being that you are and for the nature of the issues that you are dealing with. It is special. It doesn't need to be universal because it is valid, if not true. You see.
Plautus, can you see in planet's future that we do become one people and one government?
Absolutely. That is the immediate next step. Now, immediate, not next Tuesday.
What about next Wednesday? Next Tuesday's an eclipse. Try it afterwards.
It is going to, it is the next step for humanity. It is the result of the Götterdämmerung that is taking place and about to take place, in which the final convulsion of race against race and religion against religion and haves against have-nots, the final expression of the separateness illusion of humankind, when that is completed and exploded and the wholeness is found, then that wholeness is reflected slowly, not overnight. Generations must be born and must die and must cross-fertilize, and the expression of the spirit reach such a form as it is recognized that you do not need mass movements dedicated to one vision of reality. So we're not looking for everyone marching in lockstep toward a glorious future, but of everyone recognizing the divinity of their differences and uniting on the basis that a cell unites with another cell, not because they do the same job, but because they are in harmony together.
Well, sometimes I think that the survival of the planet depends on how much we do realize that we are one.
Well, of course,
in other words, if there's a lot of destruction on the planet, and one part of the planet has a lot of food, why, they're going to have to share it with other parts of the planet.
Yes, and of course that is to be the case, that Earth unites and feeds itself as it has always had the potential to feed itself and to grow in harmony as the whole Earth is used by the whole people. But that is to be the result, not the cause. That the convulsions that the Earth and that humanity is going through are to make many changes, and there will be disaster and difficulty and starvation and war and so forth. Perhaps not to the ultimate degree that is envisioned by the Cassandras among you, but enough to break up the present structure. You see, as long as the structure of the economy, as long as the structure of nationalism, as long as the structure of religion against religion is in existence, the new cannot be created. The old must be destroyed, and it will destroy itself in a paroxysm of fear and rage. But at the same time that is taking place, the energy that is animating each of you is having its effect in mitigating the effects of the death. So the death is taking place, but the birth is also taking place. And the Earth is going to be a different place. There is fundamental change, as we began by saying many years ago, that a true change of realities is taking place. And when the beliefs that sustain the old structure are eroded, as they are now eroding, it will be impossible to continue that old structure. It will be impossible to resuscitate that old structure. And the new will be based upon the understanding that is coming and is a part of the growth of humankind, of the interdependence, of the interrelationship, of the sense of oneness. And so that will be the result. But first we must see the disparate parts collapsing in upon themselves.
What are Plautus' thoughts on abortion, and how does that fit into this whole thing?
Could someone get me some water?
You just swallow it in the meantime.
Thank you. The question of abortion is very complex because it has meaning on the individual level. It is call it a moral faith issue to a varying degree and in varying ways to the individuals that are directly affected, and in another way to those who choose up sides based upon their own structure of understanding. It is also a vehicle for the polarity. But viewed strictly from the higher aspect, it is a non-issue. It is an issue in an individual life, and the choices that you make respecting that issue are very important to you, to your pathway. But the choices that you make could be diametrically opposite to the choices you make, and yet be equally valid and equally important in your life because of what they bring out in you, because of what they trigger in you, because of the result. But looking beyond that, it doesn't block. There's no soul blocked from entering, and entering at the point and at the place that is needed. There is no blockage. If the Spirit is to join you, the Spirit will join you. If the Spirit is to be a part of your family, you can try to block it, but it will come to you. If it doesn't come to you out of your flesh, it will come to you from halfway around the world.
I'll vouch for that.
So there is no blockage. Remember that beyond this veil of mystery, there is universal cooperation among spirits, all of whom are animated by love, all of whom interact with the others in the ways that are best for all concerned.
Plautus, the other day in the grocery store, there was a man, a few people ahead of me buying a small amount of groceries, and I couldn't believe that I was even thinking that, but he struck me somehow as being different, and I even thought that maybe he was one of those star people that is being spoken about and written about now, what we're talking about here, and I'm wondering, could it possibly have been, or not?
All right, this is a bit difficult to explain. It is not that individual was not of this earth. It is that human forms, human beings, human spirits do not exist behind impenetrable walls of steel. You are spirit. If you could but see well enough, you would see that this apparently solid form is more space than matter, that you are permeable, that through each day and each moment, many energies flow through you. Some, depending upon your own need and your own either vulnerability or openness, will stay with you for benefit or for ill for a time. Some will stay with you for life. Some are related intimately to you, and some are just passing through. Some will join you only for a moment and only to communicate with another being, someone you may not even know, in which you are used as a messenger, without your conscious knowledge. This takes place both among earthbound spirits, spiritual entities from the wider reality, and projections from extraterrestrials, always for purpose. It was that you viewed. It was a connection that seemed alien to you because of your own state of awakening. You have grown much more sensitive to psychic phenomena, to nuance, to the awareness of what is taking place beneath the surface. And so your attention is drawn and your awareness pricked by your own growth. This individual was being visited, not possessed, not inhabited, not taken over, but visited by one that you would call an extraterrestrial. But even now, this is no longer the case.
Plautus,
Yes.
This afternoon I laid down to take a nap, and I was contemplating coming to this class, and as I fell asleep, I started to dream about these larger-than-life, turtle-like creatures flying by me and overhead, and I was marveling at how they were familiar but different than anything I'd ever seen, and I was feeling very drawn toward them. Is this related to the class stuff tonight?
Yes, it is. It is a foretaste, a bit of foreknowledge. Again, we have the reptiles and it's not memory. It's not a vision, strictly speaking. If you could open your eyes, figuratively speaking, widely, you would see such sights where you stand that you could not imagine. You stand, each of you, at the nexus of 1,000 dimensions. Every iota of space is filled. If you could see the full range of the vibrations of existence, you would see that you are filled and you are surrounded and you are one with a universe that is itself a living being. Ofttimes, in your dreams, in meditation, in twilight sleep, you will glimpse other realities that are connected with you in time and in space, passing through, touching your reality, a glimpse through a window, and then gone. Always there is recognition, because all is recognized at the source self. And so these events, and because you were preparing to receive this information, you were particularly sensitive to the awareness of a form related to the topic this evening.
Plautus, just before I came tonight, I found out that a dear friend, Ross, has a brain tumor. How could I help him? Is it possible that I can help him?
Yes, of course it's possible that you can help. It is the lesson of the oneness. He is you. And yet he is separate. His issues in this life are the causation of the physical response, the testing situation. It is not punishment, it is learning. It is an expression of dis-ease and imbalance, yes, but it is for his own purposes. You do not interfere by sending love and healing. Whether that love and healing is accepted, and always it will be accepted, whether it is used for the purpose intended by you, is up to the needs of the individual. But always the love is received. Always it has value both for the giver and the receiver. So whether you call it prayer or meditation or sending healing, what have you, use whatever methods are at hand and are part of your arsenal of love, and send that to him. Now we're going to ask only for one more question. The vehicle here is growing very weak.
I was wondering if you foresee an individual soon becoming the embodiment of the Antichrist energy.
No, this is not to be a single individual that will embody that manifestation of negativity. Just as the Christ is returning as energy that all may partake, so the symbolism of the bread and the wine finally is made manifest, because all partake of the energy who choose. That is the lesson of the age. We go from the individual to the oneness, to the wholeness. We go from I to we. So is it with the negative energy, the dark side of the story. And so it is not one individual that will embody the nature of what is called the Antichrist. It is the personification of fear that is already found. There is already what you would find as an acceptable definition of Antichrist. There are already several in operation, some now dead, but many who are embodiments of that negativity, who have taken upon them the mantle and the energy of the negativity, as you are opening yourself to the mantle of your discipleship and your reception of the energy of the Christ. Some consciously, and some so lost in illusion. The one in Iran, the Ayatollah, is one example of and anyone who has opened to the Spirit, who has followed the path, who is receiving the light, may look upon the visage of the Ayatollah and upon many others who are embodiments of the fear energy and recognize them instantly, and yet others, not so opened, may look upon the same individual and not see the evil and the darkness and the fear that are embodied therein. So it will not be one, it will be many.
Could you comment on Pat Robertson here?
This is one, and we will not, we will not say the Antichrist at all. This is one who has elected to be a part of the rearguard action of that which is passing away and fighting desperately for its life. The representative of the vision that cannot see. And one who will have continuing and growing impact in the polarization that is taking place. But you understand that you are in this process to learn not to fear. And there is nothing for you to fear in the changes that are taking place in your reality. Your fundamental choices are made and your path is opening before you. And now we will close this reading for tonight, and we thank you all for your attention and bid you Godspeed as your journeys continue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.